Working on the Corvette today. Still trying to make this car complete. It doesn't have any seat belts in it. I did get these seat belts with the car, and for all I know, they're original. I mean, the age of them surely looks like it, but they're pretty dirty. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wash them and then toss them in there. I might wear wheel some of this rust off of here. Try to leave the paint on there if I can, but I did get a set of seatbelt bolts for the car. They do fit in there. I'm not sure what year they started it. Maybe in '65, where they had cables going to the seatbelts underneath the car. We'll take a look at that area. So here's the bracket on the car that bolt screws into. And they would have had a cable coming down like this. And there would have been like a thing in here for the cable. The lift's on it here, but this is the other bracket, I believe. And then the cable would come down and screw to the frame. So I don't think this car had those, so I'm just gonna put them on without it for now. Look at these bushings. I better address that pretty soon. I think I am gonna be able to take these completely apart. Just barely. Let's see how good they clean up. Here's belt number 2. I was making this video for myself, so I want to get these back together. Chevrolet, 1963. These are most likely the originals. I'm sure this material would hold you back in an accident, but I bet you it's nowhere near as strong as it once was. So I washed these, scrubbed them down as good as I could. And probably the most notable thing is the fabric is actually flexible now. It was like kind of stiff before. And I scratched as much stuff out of these as I could, wire wheeled them as best I could, lubed them up. And you know, for me, I think there's gonna be good enough. There are really good reproduction belts out there, but I just don't feel like spending the money on it right now. So these actually went back together with ease, and they're working good enough where it'll satisfy the police, and who knows, it may even save your life. That or your head's just gonna pivot and you're gonna knock your teeth out on the steering wheel because there's no shoulder belt. Got the assembly manual here. Seat belts, D86. This doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, it shows a bolt here. I'm not seeing a cable or nothing like that. It does say install belt with buckle end at inboard side. So it looks like just the strap goes on the outside, and then you got that buckle mechanism on the inside. Pretty sure the seat just has 2 bolts on the front here, and then the back slips into like a receptacle. Here's what the back of that seat slips into. Wonder if something's in there. See if we can find a date on this. May 17th, 1994. So this car may have been on the road as long as 94. The foam is deteriorating on these seats. I already had this driver's seat out once. I wouldn't be surprised if I get these seats redone at some point here in the near future. For these inside holes, I think I'm just gonna heat up the end of a piece of metal and poke it through that carpet and melt through it. You don't really want to drill through it because you can grab a strand and pull it out of the carpet. I'll probably let this cool off just a smidge before I attempt poking her through. The carpet's disintegrating, but I found the hole. It's right up under there. I think if I trim this carpet up a little tighter, just the one hole might be good enough. Alright, I finally got it started after cauterizing the area. I had to take the body mount bolt out to get in there. And then I had to run a 7/16 20 tap from the underside to the inside. But I got this bolt to start. So I'm going to try to put the belt in now. And then move on to the next one. I'm looking at the assembly manual, and it kind of looks like the strap goes to the buckle and then goes back up over the top. That's not how these were. If you were to buckle this, it would be folded underneath. I think these may have been assembled incorrectly. It would have to go from here around, and then the tail would come out the back and then be on top. So I'm going to redo these belts. So to me, this looks more like the assembly manual. And it makes sense because you could pull on this to adjust it. If it's on the underside, you wouldn't be able to do that. All these bolts had a smidge of Loctite on it. I'm leaving it a smidge loose, hoping that Loctite activates, so that piece of metal can swivel on the shoulder. With that carpet in there, it gets pretty tight. That one down there underneath that speaker wire, I'm just going to run a tap through it right away. I think it'll come out of this carpeting if I wanted to trim any carpeting. We'll see. There it is. That one is quite a bit easier. I put it in so the seam is towards the outside, so it doesn't chafe whoever is wearing it. Basically doing the same thing to side too. One thing I do have in the toolbox is a seamstress scissors. Recommend having one of those to cut this thick carpeting. Like I exposed this body mount bolt hole. I mean, it'll be covered with this top flap, but otherwise it would have been hard to get at once this bolt was landed. Seat belts are in. Here's the finished product. I just laid them off to the sides of the seats. Should be legal now. On to the next project.